The 2022 Formula One season is finally over, and fans must come to terms with the reality of the grid next year. Many old and new favorites, including Sebastian Vettel and Mick Schumacher, are off the grid, but there's nothing worse than the Honey Badger leaving. In today's video, we're looking at what Daniel Ricciardo says about his future in Formula One and his stellar career up until now. First up, here's what Daniel thinks about 2023.
Find a place that makes me feel like I can compete, at the front again.
Daniel will be dealing with a reserve driver role next year, but things might not be too bad because the role is with Red Bull. The team he left 4 years ago is taking him back on, and he seems super happy about it. The driver said he wanted to take some time off in 2023, seeing how he's been racing consistently every year since his career started. He also knows that his last 2 years haven't been the strongest, which has been pretty tiring for him. He realized as long ago as the summer break that he wanted time off, and the best position for him next year would be as a reserve driver.
Yes, it's a third driver role. It shouldn't be that exciting, I guess, but it really was.
He knew he wanted to be involved with a top team, and everyone knows who's at the top of both championships this year. He still can't say much about whether the deal is sealed, but he does know that it's the most likely option for him. But fans still wonder one more thing. What if he enjoys his time off too much? Could this be goodbye to the Honey Badger?
Hey, wake up. With Michael, Corey, Rob, Blake, Scotty, and Johnny's family.
To that, the Aussie said that we already had his answer. The new role will either fuel the fire and motivate him to race again, or it'll just help him realize that his racing career is over and that's what's best for him. Either way, the driver seems to be cool with it. Plus, he's determined to do his absolute best next year.
I feel with the result, I certainly feel good. It's been a long time. I think my last top 5 was probably a year ago in Saudi.
Whether he ends up racing or not after 2023, Ricciardo is determined to have a great time with it. He's reminded everyone that he's very happy with his life and knows how privileged he is to enjoy it. If he doesn't return to the racing world, he'll be doing something else that's equally cool. He also wanted to put his maximum effort into the next season, which is another reason the reserve role is good for him. Since F1 is about to have its longest season in history with a whopping 24 races in 2023, he's worried that he might not do well in a regular role, which would end his career for him either way. He wants to make sure he's doing it at the highest level with the freshest approach, and the only reason he didn't stick with a regular role at Haas or Williams is that he knows he won't be able to give any team his best for now. At this point, his priority is to just work on getting his motivation back, work on his skill, and end up back at the top of the grid in 2024.
It's hard. You try to adjust a little bit before you get to the destination, so maybe
For now, playing backup for Verstappen and Perez looks like the best deal for him. So, what happened? It was a huge shock to everyone in the racing world when McLaren announced they'd be ending Ricciardo's contract a year early.
The outcome wasn't desired. As a collective though, we didn't really get it right.
And taking on Oscar Piastri in the seat instead.
Hi everyone, the news is finally out. I'll be joining the Formula One grid in 2023 with McLaren.
Apart from being an 8-time race winner, having driven with teams like Red Bull and Alpine in its Renault days,
And Daniel Ricciardo gives Renault their first podium since Malaysia in 2011. There is a smile.
he was also one of the most loved drivers on the grid. But slowly, every seat on the grid got filled up, and Daniel didn't seem any closer to having a place to race next year. There were offers from Haas and Williams, but when you've been at the top so long, you can't go back down to the bottom of the grid. So when Red Bull's motorsport advisor Helmut Marko suddenly announced that Daniel Ricciardo would be the third driver for 2023,
It's not that I ever ruled out in my head that I would return to the Red Bull family, but
the racing world went insane. It seemed perfect that Danny was returning to the team where he had so many wins, which opened the door to a permanent role later on. But everything went downhill when Marko took his words back after he made the statement. We're sure plenty of fans had flashbacks to the Piastri Alpine drama when the driver confirmed that he wasn't working with them right after they said he was. But it was just a case of revealing too much too early, and he confirmed that the Aussie is coming back to Milton Keynes to race with the team again. He added that with all their show runs, having a high-profile, experienced driver like Ricciardo is the best option for them. Next, who's confirmed for the grid next year? Now that the season is finally over and all the drama has died down, drivers and fans alike will get to chill for a bit before winter testing starts again, and soon enough, the supersized 2023 season will be in full swing.
Brand new season, brand new dawn for Formula One. It's the Bahrain Grand Prix, and It's lights out and away we go!
The real question is, who's driving next year? All the seats on the grid now have drivers confirmed for them, and while that means many iconic ones are leaving their roles, it also means a ton of new faces who will get to experience their first F1 season next year. The driver lineups for the top 3 teams, aka Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes, were never a question since those top drivers have multi-year contracts and will see them through to the end. Now that they've let Daniel go, McLaren will have Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, who's brought their fair share of drama into the paddock. Alpine, who could have had Piastri as well, will instead be making do with Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. Sebastian Vettel's retirement may have left a huge hole in Formula One hearts, but it also left a free seat at Aston Martin next to Lance Stroll. That seat is confirmed to be taken by Fernando Alonso, another iconic driver. Alfa Romeo is sticking with what they know with Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou, and AlphaTauri has taken on a rising star, Nick de Vries, and is keeping Yuki Tsunoda. Finally, at the lower end of the grid, Williams has confirmed Alex Albon, and since Latifi is gone, Logan Sargent is entering. Lastly, with Mick Schumacher gone, Kevin Magnussen's new teammate is a familiar face, specifically Nico Hülkenberg. Now let's take a look back at Ricciardo's career, starting with HRT. Now that Ricciardo's racing career may be over, it's time to look at where he's been through the years. He may have started at Red Bull's Young Driver program, but he started his Formula One career in 2011 with HRT, a team at the back of the grid. He stayed with the team for part of the season, but he was doing so well against his older and more experienced teammates that he got promoted by Toro Rosso, Red Bull's junior team. During those years, he performed great for the 2012 season, establishing himself as one of the best drivers on the grid. Now let's move on to the Red Bull days. This era was undoubtedly one of Daniel's best. After Mark Webber retired in 2013, Red Bull chose the young Aussie to replace him, and he joined at the perfect time. Red Bull's dominance gave way to Mercedes, but Ricciardo didn't have it. Even though his teammate was a 4-time champion, Sebastian Vettel grabbed 3 wins for the team that year. But that seemed to be the peak of his Red Bull career, since in the 2015 season, after Seb went on to Ferrari, Ricciardo found his performance getting worse, along with some bad luck that year too. He only got 2 podiums, with 1 third place at the Hungaroring and 2nd place at Singapore. 2016 was the same, with the driver finishing P3 in the championship. 2017 saw Red Bull drop in the rankings, but they had someone new in the form of Max Verstappen. Both drivers did well that year, but 2018 saw Ricciardo win 2 of his first 6 races, making his big comeback into racing for the crown. Finally, here's what happened post-Red Bull. In 2019, Daniel moved to Renault, which wasn't the successful move he thought it was. The team's best result was just the top of the midfield, and the Honey Badgers' strongest result was at Monza, where he and teammate Hülkenberg finished P4 and P5. 2020 wasn't much better, but 2021 saw Ricciardo's move to McLaren and the start of his career's weakest era. With just 1 win at Monza to his name, it was no surprise that in the end, they chose to let him go and instead take on Oscar Piastri. That's a wrap for this video. How did you react to Daniel leaving? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.